All right, welcome back to another episode of More Than a Mortgage. I am Mike Black along with Tom Merritt, and we have a special guest with us here today, Mr. Todd Scrima. Our episode today is built around wealth building, and so, whatever that looks like and feels like to you right now, I can tell you that I'm sitting here with one of the best, if not the best, person who's taught me a lot about money. And I can go back and tell you just a quick story before we get started, but I went through a divorce back in 2017. It's not something I wish upon anybody, but the end result of the tornado that blew through was was like a fraction of what I had cash net worth. And I remember at the time, Todd was coaching me, and he just said, "Honey, it's going to be okay. You're gonna make your money back at some point in time, and we're going to show you how to do it, and we're going to give you all the tools and tactics." I went back and looked at 2017 till today, and he has helped me 5 to 6x that number that I was left with, which is just unreal in like a 8-year span. So I'm not saying it was because I'm not a good saver, but I'm saying it because he showed me where I needed to be putting my money. He showed me where I needed to be cutting expenses. And so it is an honor to be here with Todd Scrima today. And Tom, you've got some similar stories before Todd takes off here, but tell us a little bit about what Todd's done for your finances.
Well, I think at the end of the day, first and foremost, the tracking portion is huge. And just being aware, knowing where things are at and where they're going. The thing that I really realized, and I appreciate your help with, was the consistency. Sometimes we can get away from it. And, during the whole COVID, whatever you want to call it, really gave way to me not necessarily being as diligent as I had before with regards to tracking, monitoring, watching, and got a little out of control and got a little out of hand. And we talked survival number and amount of savings that we want to have on a monthly basis, and really was starting to shift the wrong way. Survival number was going up, the savings was going down, and it was starting to eat into what my ultimate life plan was, and that's to be able to have the opportunity to retire at some point or another in a way that I want to retire. And so I appreciate you, Todd, for kind of getting me back on track, recognizing and realizing what is important, where I want to go, and how I want to get there. And again, nothing is easy. You get sometimes people get really emotional when it comes to finances, and we got a little emotional, but really took a step back and took a look to see where things were, where we were going, and had to make some difficult decisions, no doubt. But hindsight's 2020, but where we are today, the stress levels have gone down, and now we're right back on track with regards to where it is that we want to be and where we're going to be in the future.
Well, you guys, I think everybody goes through struggles with finances, and that's normal. You guys have done a very good job of making hard decisions, working on developing your skills, getting your incomes way back up, and it's been very impressive. Really, a testament to you guys, and I appreciate the credit, but it's you that does all the work and the hard decisions. So, just to give a premise to this, and I want to tell you from the outgo, I am a little fanatical about this subject and have a lot of passion around it. I grew up very poor on a farm, and I remember being in the grocery store, and there was a gallon of milk, and I had to milk the cows and the goats every morning, starting about 7 years old. And so, getting up at 5:30 to milk the goat and the cows, we're in the grocery store, and there's a gallon of milk there, and it was 49 cents. I remember going to my mom, and I said, "Mom, if you just bought this gallon of milk for 49 cents, I wouldn't have to get up at 5:30 and milk the cows and the goats." And she says, "That's money we don't have." I'm like, "We don't have 49 cents? That's what I was thinking. When my grandfather owned the farm, and we had a house that he lived on, and 200 yards away was our house, and he built both of them. When my grandfather died, he went through the Great Depression. We literally went to the backyard under the oak tree, dug up a coffee can, had $30,000 in cash in it.
Wow.
And
it was a lot back then.
It's a lot back then. So what the sad part to that story is, if grandfather would have invested that $30,000 with compound interest, because he buried that like 25 years prior. that money would have been worth like $150,000. I did the math one day. And I'm like, man, people just make mistakes around money. So when we talk about money, I think there's so much to talk about, but if I were to, I think what's important is to have some ground rules. Like one of them is after you're 40 years old, your your survival number, what it costs you to pay all your bills, should decline, not increase.
This is 40, you said?
Yeah, I think 40 years old. So here's the idea is like, let's say I'm 42 years old and I want to buy a car. Well, if my current car payment's $500 a month, I don't go out and get a $1,000 car payment because that increases how much but I could replace it with $500, or I could pay cash for a car and decrease my survival number. And I think that's a simple principle that a lot of people don't understand. I think another principle is there's a lot of fear around, I'm going to lose my money. So I tell people that and by the way, when I say all these things, I'm not a licensed financial advisor. I've coached thousands of people about finances, but just for full disclaimer, right? There is like financial products you can get for very low cost. I pay 4 basis points a year for this through Vanguard and I've got about a third of my cash in a ETF mutual fund that the average return has been a little over 10% over 50 years. And it just follows the Fortune 500 companies and gets rebalanced automatically every month on if Apple's 3% of the Fortune 500, that fund owns 3% of Apple. And you're going to get about a 10% rate of return, which is a great return.
Absolutely.
Instead of putting your money in a CD or something like that,
or a coffee can,
2 or 3%, or a coffee can, which is 0, because inflation is going to be around 3% a year.
Yeah.
Obviously, been more recently, but 3.5% a year. So if you do nothing with your money, it's going to decrease in value 3% a year. So over 30 years, your money's going to be worth a lot less than if you would have invested and made 10%, because at 10%, you're covering inflation of 3% plus making another 7, right? And that's a simple principle, but that's compound. Was it Einstein said it was the 8th wonder of the world, right? So when you, so that's another principle, is make sure that you don't have to do risky investments. You don't have to go out and find the next NVIDIA. That is not what most people should ever do. Right? Just put your money away in something that's going to grow over time. It'll go up and down. It looks like, on a graph, it's going to look like this, but it's going to gradually go up. And when you have times of like the financial crisis, stock market went down over 40%. Okay, good time to buy, but even if you just kept it, it went right back up.
Yeah.
So back in, just a frame, back in, let's see, 2008, 2009, the Dow went down to, I think it was 7,200 or 7,700, and I'm looking at my phone today, it's 49,000.
Yeah.
49,000.
So you just sat on it. You should have just sat on it then.
Just sat on it, and it comes back. So that's another principle. And then the third simple principle is just pick a number. Like you can use ChatGPT and say, hey, I'm this old. I'm going to be working, you literally just speak these terms, right? I'm 42 years old, and I wonder if let's try and do it live right now. Let me just make up a scenario and see if it works. And this is what I encourage all the listeners to do. This is so simple. See if I can actually connect to ChatGPT. Hello?
Oh, you might have internet connectivity.
I'm on Wi-Fi.
Oh, you are?
But let's say I'm 42 years old. I've got $100,000 in cash between my 401k and outside savings. I'm going to work 20 more years. How much money do I need to save to have $2 million?
Yeah, I got it right here. You want to do it?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm 42 years old. I have $100,000 in cash, and I'm going to work for 20 more years. How much money do I need to save each month if it grows at 10% compound interest in order to have $2 million when I'm 62? What's the answer? And it will tell us.
It says, drum roll. Take a second here, but it'll pull up. All right. If you're 42 years old, your time horizon is 20 years to age 62. Starting cash $100,000 invested immediately. Target amount $2 million. Return 10% annually. Monthly contributions each month. You would need to have, let's see, your final answer, $1,670 per month for the next 20 years at a 10% annual.
Okay, so $1,600 a month. So you then sit down with your spouse and say, honey, you got a 401k, I've got a 401k, and I'm putting in $400 a month right now. You're putting in $400 a month.
That's $800.
So we got $800 already. It needs to be $1,600 for us to hit our goal. What can we do to increase our contribution so that it goes in tax-free and grows tax-free? And hey, I'm going to contribute 400 more. You contribute 400 more. Because it's 800 going in tax-free, we're not taxed on that money. So it's really probably $500 a month less spending. You know what, honey? We went out to that dinner with the Smiths last week, and we spent $800 on dinner. Let's just do one less of those a month, and we're there.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, let's do that. And you commit it like a pact with your spouse so that you guys are on the same page, and you're like, hey, we're just going to work 20 more years, even if we don't make more money, which you probably will, and we'll have $2 million when we're 62. The house is paid off. You can go on the Social Security website. Hey, you're going to get $2,000 a month. I'm going to get $2,000. That's $4,000 a month. We've got no bills except for utilities, and we can. On the $2 million, a simple metric to use is to say, hey, we've got $2 million. We can take 5% a year out of that. That's a very conservative way of looking at it. So we're going to add another $100,000. So now we've got $150,000 between Social Security and taking it out of our retirement. We can live on $150,000 a year, and we've got almost no bills. A couple grand a month in bills.
And you're not hitting that principal, so at the end of the day, you'll be able to pass that along if you don't.
If you want to.
If you want to, but I mean, that's not even taking into account the money that you already have saved. That's just living off the interest in the Social Security.
Yeah. So if you think about it, we're in this age, to me, where things get a lot of attention, right? Social media, everyone's got a voice, and I think that's good overall. But there is this preponderance, I think, or undercurrent right these days to be like, I want to be rich. Well, you got to define what rich means to you.
Yeah.
For most people, when you really boil it down, rich means I have choices and my stress is diminished. I remember a call you and I had, it was 3-4 years ago, I think, and we just did the math on your retirement.
Yeah.
I remember you being like, it'll be that much? I said, Mike, if you just do what you're doing, it'll be that much. And you're like, I could never spend that amount. That's the aha moment that I want couples to have when they're planning this stuff. And they all rely on the financial planner to do that for them, but it's your money. So you have to know these things. You have to internalize it.
And I think and that's great advice, and I think the biggest misconception with a lot of the people that I run into every day is that, I've seen some people that have been on an $80,000 a year income and they live within their means. And I think sometimes people interpret wealth equals income, and that's not the case.
Yes.
I think wealth is more centered around your lifestyle and how you live it and what you want to do with that disposable, right? And what you can do with that disposable and getting the right advice. So I feel like, I've seen people that have $80,000 to $100,000 a year in income in Chicago, and Chicago's an expensive city, that are still saving good money.
Well, I think that's the other thing to think about. You just did that, and maybe we do this again. A 42-year-old, well, what if it's 22-year-old? So now if that 22-year-old is saving, I bet you that number goes from $1,600 probably down to 200, 300, somewhere in
That
there,
is so
which is
key.
much more
Yeah.
palatable, especially if you are. So now you can imagine someone who's used to living off of, say, $80,000 by the time they retire, and now they're getting 144,000 or 148, 150,000. Like, that's
just
life changing.
Yeah, it's one less like night of bottle service.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you another tip is before you buy something, just pause and ask yourself, in 2 weeks, is this gonna better my life? Am I still gonna be happy I bought this? So like an example for me is I pay $1,000 a month to belong to my golf club. I'm out there a couple days a week. My friends are out there. It's a social environment. It gets me outside. And I am totally fine making that investment in my happiness. We started having a masseuse come to our house. My younger brother's a massage therapist. I have back issues. It's really helped me. So that money I spend once a month for massage is worth it to me. There's other things that I'm like, hey, do I want to, if I'm going to buy those $200 shoes, that really cost me $400 because of my tax bracket. Is it worth $400?
Yeah.
And I just pause and say, I got a closet full of shoes. Like, it's okay if I buy the shoes.
I'm good.
But it's also okay if I don't. Vacations are a good example of this. Last year, we took a few vacations. One of them was I took the family on a trip to Europe. Very expensive vacation. Now, I did it as economically as I could, but that's still a $30,000 vacation.
Yeah.
It just is. We took a camping trip, a few months after that. And if I compare the joy and the quality time and all that we had, I would say they're equal.
Yeah.
And the camping trip was like $1,000. So, you want to think of these things in advance so that you can say, hey, is this valuable to me?
Yep.
And then to your long-term thinking, there's a lot of people, it doesn't happen a lot, but if the young person can stop and say, hey, I'm getting my first job and I'm putting $500 a month away, and that's just one less beer night.
Yeah.
And you can have that financial discipline to look forward 30 years, that's amazing.
Yeah. Tom, that is a great nugget because, I look at, and I teach a lot of clients this too, but it's, if you start in your 20s versus in your early 30s, that extra 10 years is like impactful. And it doesn't even do the ChatGPT thing with just doing $500 a month for the next 45 years. It's insane. I mean, that alone will get you probably a couple
Millions.
$1,000,000, right? So I love the longevity in the markets on that. Another formula that you taught me, Todd, was and it's all centered around a budget that I run every month. But it's like, really focusing on the money coming in, the money going out, and it's not going overboard, but managing your expenses. The savings, I think, was come third. It's a 20 to 30% savings that you taught me. And then the rest you can go out and burn.
Yeah.
Right? And if you can live your life by that formula, it's kind of how we live our lives nowadays. It's like, we got to get our expenses paid first, then we've got to hit our savings goal next, and then the rest, we can do whatever we want with it, right? Because we've already hit what we needed to hit. We know that clarity around what that retirement goal looks like.
Yeah, the difference there is a priority of order. So it's, do you save first or do you spend first? And what most poor people do is they spend first and then try and save later. What you're talking about is the discipline of 30, 30, 30, 10. So 30% goes to taxes, 30% goes to bills you have to pay, 30% you save, 10% you give away to causes that you like. And so that's a simple formula, but in order to do that, you got to track it and say, okay, I deposited this much, 30% is this, 30% is this, 30% is this, how much is left over? And having that, I call it a magic number. So the magic number we used in our example was $1,600 a month. So make sure that you're hitting that most months. Some months it's a little more, some months it's a little less. If you have an auto deducted from your paycheck stub, tax-free, that's the best form. There was a gentleman called the Real Cash Millionaire or something like that. The whole book was about automating your savings through 401k. And if you're self-employed, you can do this through this self-employed pension plan, same thing. So just have it taken out of your check. That's the best money tip you can have, because then you can't spend it.
Never see it.
Yeah, and I think that's why, because we're on mortgage, but like it's even more important when you're buying a home to stay within a range if you can. I know some markets just won't allow you to do that, but I think it's really important to focus on that, like 30-30-30-10 rule, including the mortgage in the picture too, because our goal working with our clients is not to make them house poor, but it's to give them the ability to still save at a good pace.
Yes.
Right? So I think that's a key that I look at for a lot of clients that we work with. And you have to, I know we don't want to turn this into a budgeting class, but you have to budget. Like, plain and simple. If you're not doing that, which I will tell you 90% of the people that I run into, first time home buyers, they don't have a clue what their living expenses are. You've got to know that stuff.
Yeah.
Right?
I would add one more thing, and this speaks to budgeting and increasing your income. I have a family member, and she recently got a job where she's making 2.5 times more. And I didn't see her for 3 months. So I saw her over the holidays, and she physically looked different. So I had time to talk to her, and I said, hey, how's the new job? She says, it's great. I'm getting paid 2.5 times more. I'm able to save. I paid off all my debt, and she just physically looks different. And she said to me this, and I've had this conversation with so many people. She says, I had no idea how much stress and worry was coming into my life until I got this new job.
And
she's
the weight
40 years old.
Comes off the shoulders.
Just like, I mean, she physically looks more beautiful. Like, it is a real difference, and people hide under the rock and don't face these things. And some of it is making more money. So just to touch on that, I'll give you an example. In our mortgage company, we have, say, a loan processor, and say that loan processor makes $60,000 a year. Our underwriters make $100,000 a year. We have a training program that's a year long that they don't pay for to learn how to become underwriters, and they would increase their income by $40,000 a year.
Wow.
And some people do it, but a lot of people don't. And I'm like, hey, if you're a processor, you're a funder, whatever, you could take that class. We will teach you step by step each week how to become an underwriter, and then license you at the end of that year as long as you pass the final. And to make another $40,000 a year for doing basically the same job, I would do that if I were you.
Yeah.
So be aggressive in your promotions. Go to your people say, well, I don't know how to make more money. Go to your boss and say, what would I have to do for this company in order to make 10% more? Keep asking them until they tell you, right? And eventually they will tell you, hey, if you did this, yeah, I would pay you more.
Yeah.
Okay, let's figure that out.
And to your point, it's not just going to be the more money in the bank, but also physically. You talked about your family member. I mean, it's life-changing. The stress, as it disappears, you feel better, the confidence goes up, and now you can continue to build on it. It's not just the actual money there. I think there's a lot more that goes into it.
Yeah, and I think to wrap this up, there's a lot of glamorization, and everyone needs to be wealthy and all this stuff. It's funny. So I was talking to Robin, our EVP of sales, and she says, she said this to me 2 weeks ago, and it really made sense. She says, the first third of your life, you're trying to make money. And then when you're 40, 45, 50, time becomes more important, right? And so you focus on more time. And then when you get a little bit older, maybe in your 60s and 70s, you're just focused on joy. And we talk about those as 3 motivators to life. Well, if you don't take some proper steps around budgeting and saving and putting money into your retirement, what happens is that formula doesn't work, because you're 65 years old and you're still stressed about money.
Yeah.
And that's not, my encouragement is that's not the cadence, the approach that we should be taking. Let's get serious about this as soon as possible. It's not that hard. Set a number by using ChatGPT. Figure out how to get to that number. Maybe it takes a year or 2 before you start hitting that savings goal, and then just do that savings goal, and you'll never have to worry about money.
Yeah, I love that.
Maybe some hard decisions along the way that you have to make, but looking at the long-term results.
Yeah, I tell people this. So I tell people I've been super poor and I've been super wealthy. They're about the same. The difference is your choices and your stress level. And so different things come with making money and having savings, and there's stresses that come with that. But there's a lot more stress that comes with how am I going to feed my kids this month?
Yes.
And, we all have, whether it's us or friends or family, and they're always paycheck to paycheck. And if you watch those people, their life tends to be a lot more chaotic than some other people. And the reason for that chaos is that massive fear and drama that comes with, oh my God, if the car breaks down this month, I can't pay my mortgage.
Yeah.
And that's the stress that we're trying to get rid of.
Well, gosh, I mean, what a great topic. And this is why we're called More Than a Mortgage. We like to talk about things outside of look, a home's another investment. That's another great, it's probably been one of the best investments you could put your money into over the course of the last decade. But, being smart, I think having mentors, like having people that can hold you accountable, whoever that is in your life, like it could be your spouse, it could be you. Like you've been great for me and Tom, and like really showing us like all that. But I think the key to all this is just having that clarity, the discipline, and knowing what your number is, and not going through life blindfolded, right?
Yes.
I think that's what a lot of people in our country do. Like this buy now, pay later stuff. Like there's a lot of dangerous things out there that can derail your plans for retirement. And I don't know about you, but I probably will still be working when I'm 80. But I want the choice, because
Right.
that's what brings me the
Have
joy,
the option
right?
to choose.
So having that choice. But guys, if you haven't ever talked to Todd, I'm sure he'll love to give you some tidbits on his wealth building journey. But Todd, thank you.
Well, thanks for having me, guys. This is always fun. This is a topic that anyone could learn from. I don't care what level you're at.
How can people find you on Instagram?
I think it's at Todd Scrima, so TODDSCRIMA.
At Todd Scrima. Check him out there. He's got a phenomenal podcast called The Mortgage Podcast for all you loan officers out there that are trying to close 10 deals a month. We are now live on Spotify. We're on YouTube. We're on Apple coming here soon, right, Jesus? And for those of you that are joining us today, thank you. And we love having Todd here in Chicago.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right.
Cheers.